Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Miami Torah Center, and again, welcome to Gedale Fenster for coming and sharing his words of wisdom, his divrei Torah, inspiring all of us. I think it's a very, very hot topic, Jewish meditation. There's all different types of meditation. We're going to hear about all these different concepts and practical applications. So we thank you for helping us and guiding us through this amazing process, B'ezrat Hashem. Tonight's class sponsors, we're going to do them quickly. First and foremost, I had a couple requests that tonight's class will go to the merit of the worldwide Jewish community for coming together this past week and raising over $2.2 million for a local little 2-year-old girl here in South Florida. So thank you for the whole world. Almost 24,000 participants to help this young family and this 2-year-old girl. So may Eliana Cohen have a complete refuah shlema. Today she took her shot, so hopefully that expensive shot really will take to her and give her that complete refuah shlema, that speedy recovery. Amen v'amen. So that was the first one. Second is Jonathan Sudri in honor of Gedale for bringing clarity and shalom bayit to his listeners and all of Klal Yisrael. Chazak. Now, next is Justin and Dana Zeg for a complete refuah shlema of all Klal Yisrael. Now, next is Dave and Shani Friedlander expressing Hakarat Tov to Hashem for the birth of their newborn daughter Emma Bracha Bat Shoshana Rivka. May she have success in her life. Torah Chuba Masim Tovim. Next is Devorah Chaya Bat Leah Rachel in honor of Gedalia. Yosel Brook in honor of Spritza Frumit Bat Avram Mordechai, who just passed away this past Sunday night. May Aliyah Nav Neshama V'Aliyah. Daniel Ben Tuvia Kamiel for the success of their children. Gabriel Yehuda Ben Dalia Ayelet, Benjamin Aryeh Ben Dalia Ayelet, Meir Ben Dalia Ayelet, and Chana Bat Dalia Ayelet. Oren Shabbat in honor of Gedalia. Ian Meltzer with thanks and blessing to Gedalia from the Meltzer family. They're from Johannesburg. Beautiful. Okay. Aida Siegel in memory of her grandparents Avram Yosef Ben Moshe and Sipora Bat Elisheva. Chaim William Mosky for the refuah shlema of Nira Bat Sipora. May Hashem give her refuah shlema, speedy recovery, and the zechut of Yosef Yaakov and Nira Tzipora for zivugim, parnasa, health, and simcha. Next is Shlomo Moshel, refuah shlema, Sylvia Bat Sima Leah, Chaya Rachel Bat Sarafega, Gedalia Ben Helena, Sarah Yenta Bas Hechana Shidduch. Okay, and a couple more names over here. Two more. Last is anonymous in memory of Chava Shalva Bat Shani Aliza, who was a 4-year-old who passed away Thursday after a flight after a rare form of cancer. I didn't hear that, so may her neshama have an aliyah. And Parnasa and merit for proper zivug for Belima Pinina Bat Leah, and health Parnasa for Leah Bat Shana. Last but not least, Leah and Yigal Shalom Manfredi from Montreal in honor of the second birthday of their daughter Rachel Bela. May she live a blessed and healthy and wealthy life till 120, and blessings, strength, zivug for Avram Moshe, Gabriel Israel Ben Leah, and Rishona Bat Michal Eliyahu Ben Shoshana. And also a special thanks to Gedalia and Rabbi Loredo for the incredible wisdom, strength, and guidance that they receive for all of your classes. Amen v'amen. If anyone would like to tremendous merit in sponsoring one of Gedalia's classes, you can either contact myself or Gedalia, and let's hit it.
Thank you. You know, it's unbelievable to see 14 sponsors for a class. I mean, it's unbelievable. It feels very generous of people. Thank you. And I also want to thank my favorite employee, Andy. He runs my detox center in Miami, and he takes away half of my problems. Thank you, man. Hashem bless you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be running out of here. So, Andy, you should be blessed. Tonight's class is going to be very special. It's going to be on his bodedut. His bodedut is, if you listen to always Rebbe Nachman's teachings, you always see it here. I say his bodedut, his bodedut, his bodedut, his bodedut. It's probably Rebbe Nachman called it in less than 25. It's higher than and greater than everything. It's higher and greater than everything. Just it's his bodedut, what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. You're in the right place. You're in the right movie. You're in the right movie. If I could just a show of hands, how many people do his bodedut here? You can see 10%, 12%. Usually in Great Neck, I think it was 5. I think we did a class with 800-900 people. I think maybe 20 hands stood up in the room. And you can see if Rebbe Nachman's telling you it's higher and greater than everything, how come everybody's not doing it? How come it's so difficult? How come it's such a hard thing to talk to God? We'll do anything in the world. We'll worry, we'll do this, but just talking simple to God. We lost the simplicity out there. There's no more simplicity. Everything has to be today complicated. Everything has to be hard. If it doesn't have anxiety, it's no way it can be solved if it's something so simple. And that's what happens. We have these belief systems in our lives that things have to be super hard to work. And I think that's what Rebbe Nachman says. First work on the relationship, then work on the religion. Because if you have a religion without a relationship, where's that going to get you? Something goes wrong, you dump the religion. Sometimes the religion itself could be a cult with certain people that don't have a heart. So that's why Rebbe Nachman's message was always, it's a relationship with your Creator, believe it or not. It's not just to do things without a heart. And that's why Rebbe Nachman says, and he said in one of his stories, that occasionally how do you know you're connected to your soul? How do you connect to your soul level? Is if you're able to feel your prayer. If you can feel it. If you can feel something, that's how you know. And he says here, when we pray with our heart, the soul is distant from its glory. There's a famous pasuk that says, with their lips they honor me, but their heart is very distant. You know, you go to your spouse and she tells you, how you doing? I'm fine. She's not fine. She's not fine. What do you mean I'm fine? With that face, you're fine? You're not fine. How do you like it? Great. You know there's something missing. Something's missing. And that's the same thing. When a person's not connecting and feeling the prayer, it's something wrong with his connection between himself and his soul. And it's something to a person check. We're gonna talk about what it is, we're gonna talk about the benefits of it. And it's more, his bodhidut is more, it's more of a coping method, because obviously today that people don't know, they have problems. What do? They shoot the messenger, they worry about the problem, they blame somebody else, anything but speaking to your Creator. It's unbelievable. Who can I blame? Who can I yell at? Why can I be anxious? The people speak more today to their psychologist than to God. How do you like that? I need to speak to somebody. I need a psychologist. Well, how about you're a Creator? I'm not telling you don't need a psychologist. God forbid. I don't want to put myself out of business. But I'm trying to explain to you that just talking to your psychologist, just talking to exterior without understanding where's the problem coming from? What do you think you got the problem in the first place? You got the first problem in the first place, so God can get your attention. If you understand that, then you have a whole different mindset. I always told people, according to your theory is your therapy. If your theory is I have a spiritual problem, then I'm going to go fix it spiritually. But if I think my theory is, I have a financial problem, I have to just work harder, then I'm going to work it that way. So it's very important to get the theory right. Because if you don't get the theory right, you're not going to get the therapy right. So important. I mean, I hate to sound so simple, but it's pretty much. If your belief system is, this problem can only handle that way, then obviously you lose the big picture in life. You lose the big picture in life, and unfortunately that's what's happening today. And unfortunately this is what happened to me. I'll tell you about my story with this bodhidut. You know, I'm in Breslev for 17 years in total. 17 years I was learning Rebbe Nachman's teachings. And obviously 7 to 8 years ago, I had a midlife crisis in my life. And for 10 years before that, I did not do his bodhidut. I read about it 100 times. People told me, talked about it. So it's not so easy, and you shouldn't say, how come I didn't do it? How come I don't understand why I can't do it? But you should know, I was learning it for 10 years. And I didn't say 1 minute. Because that's not for me. And only when things got really, really bad in life did I start his bodhidut. So we should know. We all come to Hashem through inspiration or desperation. It's normal. You're going to either be inspired to do it or you're going to be desperate enough to do it. My case was I needed the desperation is what got me. So after that reading about his bodhidut, it was very awkward in the beginning. And again, we're going to talk about, I just want to understand the things that I was feeling when I was dealing with the obstacle is a very similar journey that everybody's going through. feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed, mentally checking out, being resistant to any kind of advice, just having this hopelessness attitude that nothing I do can help. And unfortunately, I would say 95% of the world has this attitude. What is this? Maybe they'll come to Rosh Hashanah, they'll come to Yom Kippur, they'll come to an event. But that's nothing to do with the relationship. Yeah, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, it's a nice event. You come, you book a seat. But that's not a relationship with God. That's just you're going with it's your tradition. And unfortunately, when we live like that, then obviously we're going to get left to the world's problems. We're not going to have a coping system. So again, feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious, feeling hopelessness is definitely something that I felt at that time. And it was something that I said, you know what, I need to change. But unfortunately, when we get stuck in that mindset, is that sometimes we hope for things to get better with a bitter attitude. And we think that some tooth fairy is going to come and fix every problem. And that's not the case, I hate to tell you. It's when you have to make the changes is when stuff changes. And again, I learned it the hard way. And then I started doing his bodhidut 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. I got up to half an hour. And for the first 6 months of this his bodhidut prayer, which we're going to talk about, not only did things not get better, it got worse. How do you like that? It got worse. Imagine a guy's learning Shalom Bayit, and when he starts learning Shalom Bayit, his wife takes 300% on him. 400%. Imagine it doesn't make any sense. You think, wow, I'm doing it better. Or imagine trying to learn Torah, next thing you know, your anxiety pops up 100 times. Doesn't make any sense. That's the test. Because you have to earn the vessel in order to receive the light of his bodhidut. So when things actually got worse, and I'm saying, why am I doing this? Things are getting worse. And I know people feel like this. That you start something, you get the free preview, you feel good for 2-3 days, and then here comes all the back, the past, etc. You should know if that's happening, it's actually a very good sign. It's actually a very good sign because that means you're going somewhere. Before you were out of bounds, before you were checked out, nothing was going to happen. But now that the fact that you're making a kind of move, that's when the Yetzer Hara says, let's see if he's doing it for the reward or is he doing it to connect. That's where the toughest part in anything is. So I just want to warn you, this is not easy. It's not an easy thing. It sounds cute, everybody's motivated, but it's not going to be easy and it's going to be very awkward. But once you break through and once you create that flow in life, even Rebbe Nachman's student said, if you do it for 40 days straight, you will see guaranteed results. Now, when people pray for Parnasa, sometimes after 40 days, you're going to find out that your partner was cheating on you. Or you're going to find out that the merchandise was not, doesn't mean you're going to get the sun's going to come out. It's going to tell you, okay, listen, this was the problem, but now I can at least help you. So sometimes we think, this is not what I expected. I said, listen, eventually you're going to make the money, but first don't you have to realize your partner's stealing from you? So the beginning, unfortunately, and again, people don't like to hear about this is the infection, this is this. We're thinking it's all going to come in a FedEx package with a beautiful, no. It usually comes as a sneaky blessing. So I want to inform people that yes, you will get an answer in 40 days. I had a girl who's working on Shalom Bayit, her husband's with another girl in another country. But you found your answer, it's not for you. So let's not assume it's always going to be rosy. You're going to get to the truth. Now, once you get to the truth, things will get better. Does that make sense? Because I think people they have this expectation of amazing things. And I'm not going to tell you all your problems are going to go away. You're just going to look at the same problems differently, which will lead you to much better things in life. Because there's a reason why we have issues in our life is to get our Creator's attention. It's not that they're going to go away completely, but you'll be able to deal with them and you'll have other opportunities show up in your life. Which it's not like, okay, well, I tried it and it didn't, my problem's still here. Yeah, but how about this? How about mental clarity? How about this opportunity to open up? How about that opportunity to open up? So let's not think that the person only has to make money from that particular store. Maybe that store was meant to close, but there'll be 3 other stores that open for you. Remember that. We always want to be open-minded, because if we're trying to attack that one thing that has to be fixed, then sometimes in life, the one thing is not going to be fixed. It's going to be, you're going to have to accept it. Power of acceptance. But there will be unbelievable other openings in life. And that's where I came to an understanding that, you know what, I have to be satisfied being dissatisfied. And that not everything is going to be perfectly that I want. But there'll be a lot of other amazing things in my life that will be. So again, remember, be satisfied being dissatisfied in life. That means our spouses are not going to be 100% what we want. Our jobs are not going to be 100% what we want. But there'll be other amazing things that open up. What happens today is one thing's not working, and you know what happens? The whole boat sinks. The whole boat sinks. That doesn't work. That leads to other problems. We don't want to get that mentality. So the original purpose of his Bodhidut is to get your Creator's attention. That's the first thing. God wants to get your attention. Look at your problems differently. Look at it as a wake-up call, not as a punishment. If I look at it as a punishment, what am I going to do? Go away from Hashem. Remove myself from any prayer. I want to approach prayer. I'm going to look at this as an opportunity. And again, the beginning of anything is very difficult. I remember the 6 months that I went through trying to speak and not knowing what to say. But after you get into flow, words start coming out. And this is exactly what he says here. Rebbe Nachman says here in lesson 138. He says something very beautiful. He says, the essence of godliness is in my heart. That which, when a person has a pure heart, he's going to know future events. Unbelievable. Forget the mikubal, forget the this. You're going to know, you have to basically put down the horoscope and open up your mouth. You're going to know future events. Where do you think God's giving you ideas? Where do you think it's coming from? It's coming to a person with an open heart, with an open mind. But when you close your heart, heart's closed. How can your Creator give you advice or tell you what to do? He can't. There's no room because you've already created that story. So it's very important to open up your heart. To say, I'm open to everything. We don't want to say, I tried that, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. You have to open up your heart. That itself could be the issue. I tell people, why don't you do his book? No, I tried. I tried 1,000 times. Really? How many times where did you do it? No, bottom line, out of 1,000 times, it was done for 5 minutes. After calculating the exaggeration and all that. So this is something, like I said, it's going to be the highest thing, yet it's going to be extremely difficult. That's the first thing you need to understand. That's the pre-game show before I even explain to you anything else, because do not expect, it's almost like exercise. You don't feel like doing it in the beginning, but whoever exercises knows that once you get into flow, you feel great. It's about the same thing. Once you get going is when the feeling comes. If you just wait on a feeling to come before, you're not going to go do it. You have to wait. It has to be built up. So those are another things I need to explain to you. It's something that's going to, very often I'll start with my prayer in the first 5-10 minutes flat, and then after that you get a tremendous amount of arousal to pray. So do not judge it, just do it. People like meditate. Sometimes they meditate, they're judging. How do I know I'm doing it right? How do I know I'm not doing it right? Do not judge it, just do it. Very important. Because if you start judging it, you're going to give it maybe the wrong meaning. On one day, you get a bigger reward just for waking up. Another day, you'll have much more light in your life. So every day, you're in a different circumstance in your life. Rebbe Nachman also tells us that you're always going to have to approach God in the point that you're in. We know that our lives change so often. One day, your issue is your kids. Another day, your issue is your wife or your husband. Another day your issue is money. Another day your issue is your partner in work. Another day your issue is something else. It's always going to change. Let's remember that. It changes all the time. So the most important thing is to approach Hashem with the issue that you're dealing with at the moment. Don't try to say thank you God for everything when you know there's 1,000 things bothering you on your chest. Whatever's bothering you, I'm coming like Moroccan style. Just lay it out. Moroccans, they have no filters. They just tell you what they have in their heart. Right? Just lay it out. God wants your heart. He doesn't want your mind. He wants your heart. What's bothering you at that moment? And recognizing I'm coming here with that issue. Because I can't go and have a 3-step process of his bodhidut if I have other things that are bothering me and I'm not really being truthful. Because I'm not really I don't want to think right now. I'm dealing with this issue. How can I think? First, I have to let it out and then come to a state of open-mindedness. Then I'll come to gratitude. Does that make sense? So it's not a robotic thing. It's approaching Hashem where you are at the moment. This is also not from a siddur. You say this is a prayer that you start talking God like a conversation. You say, Hashem, right now, in the beginning, if it's very difficult for a person to say, he should say, I was told to do his bodhidut. I heard Rebbe Nachman says it's greater than everything, but I have absolutely nothing to say to you. That is very good to say. That should be your his bodhidut. Exactly what I just said to you. I have nothing to say. I heard it's good. I have an anxiety issue. I can't deal with my mother-in-law. I can't deal with this one. I can't deal with that one. But I was told to come to you. At least you're honest. You understand? You're honest. It's not like people reading a book and on their phone and they're in La La Land, for God's sake. With people, you see synagogues, they got the phone here, they got the book here, they got the glasses here. They're all over the place. They need a GPS to find out where they are. You're alive. That's what God wants. God wants a person's heart. Remember that. Serve God with your heart. As the pasuk says, their lips are far away from me. They're but their heart's not there. And that's from Nachman. The word Breslev is heart, soft heart. That's from Nachman's teaching. We know Chabad is very catered to the mind. Breslev is very the heart. Where Rebbe Nachman says, Chabad focuses more on his bonenut, deep contemplation, where Breslev changes and says, no, you need a conversation. There's a difference in Chabad. Chabad is more in the mind, Breslev is more in the heart. Chabad focuses on finding the good points in everybody. I'm sorry, loving everybody. Rebbe Nachman's teachings focus on finding the good points in yourself and other people. Because guess what? You're going to have people that's going to piss you off in life. You're going to have people that bother you. And and Rebbe Nachman already knew. He already knew that people were going to have, obviously today we're dealing with people, anger, resentment. That's the majority of the problems today. Anger, resentment, not understanding why this. So it's forcing us to look at the good in people. So that's what his bodhidut. His bodhidut, which is a form of prayer, is not to change the situation. It's to change the way you view the situation. Remember that, very important. You're not there to change God. You're there to change yourself, how you view that problem. You're there to do a reframing of the issue. You know what? My wife has said something to me. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say, change her, she's always yelling at me. I'm going to say, am I a little too sensitive sometimes maybe? Why am I always so sensitive? Why do I always have to speak back all the time? Why can't I elevate the kavod to you, Hashem? Help me elevate the kavod. Why do I have to answer all the time? That means I have no confidence in myself. Because if I had confidence, why would I have to answer all the time? A confident person can hear proper rebuke. But a person who's not confident, every time somebody tells him something, he's got to snap right back. That shows a sign of lack of self-control. So we want to use prayer to change us. To change us. Remember that, and that's another. You need to get. It's very important to get the whole scope of this, because otherwise you're going to approach it and you're just going to do like a video game. If I win, I get money. If I don't get money. Or this. Spirituality is not a video game where you get rewarded. It's more about connecting than getting. If I only focus on getting, I'm not going to connect. But once I connect, I'll get. Does that make sense? Many people are just doing it for the reward. How could this solve my problems? And then you recognize that this is not what I want. I want something much better. I want something much better. So remember, you're going to have an issue in the beginning with this bodhidut with time. People tell me all the time, I have no time. It's not a lack of time, it's a lack of direction. There's plenty of time, but the time is being wasted on things you can't control. So it's very important to not say I don't have time. A person who says I don't have time, then he needs 2 hours of his bodhidut. Because where are you wasting your energy on? Remember, there's a difference between having time management and there's a difference between energy management. I can have plenty of no time, but I'm wasting my energy on things I can't control. Like worrying, like things that I can't even have control of. That's just wasted energy. So you remember, you have to understand something, that in which Rebbe Nachman is going to speak about, that the reason why we have no time is because usually we're exhausted because of our thinking. And this is why Rebbe Nachman says in lesson 9, it's something beautiful. He says, the essence of life force comes through prayer. Prayer to God is my life. This is why a person should pray with all his energy. And his energy is renewed there. Remember, the reason why I'm exhausted is because I'm taking that issue in my life, and everybody has them, and I'm holding it, and I'm suppressing it, and I'm stressed out about it, and I'm burnt out. So when I come to prayer, I'm exhausted. Does this sound familiar? To anybody? Yes. I'm not elevating that prayer. You understand? That problem that I have, instead of taking that problem and giving it to Hashem, lifting it to Hashem, I'm taking that problem and suppressing it and holding it on my shoulders. So when a person tells you I have no time, of course you have no time, because you're stressing over things you cannot control. Like money, like somebody else, like many things in life that we can't control. So when Rebbe Nachman is telling us that prayer renews your energy, after prayer I should have more energy. Very important concept, because usually we think it's opposite. People will tell you, I'm not in the mood to work out. Yeah, but once you work out, after the workout, you have more energy. We all know that after you do exercise, you have more energy than you did before. How can it be? You had physical exertion and you have more energy afterwards? Makes absolutely no sense. Same is true about his Bodhidut or prayer. You're exhausted because you're dwelling on that issue instead of using prayer to transform that issue. Very important concept. Very important. That means if you don't have energy, how much more should you need to pray? How much more do you need his Bodhidut? You understand? You need it 10 times more. Because otherwise you're just taking problems and suppressing them. Or you're taking problems and you're not transforming yourself through them. So that's why it's very important. A sign of no energy is a sign of no direction, not of time. And I always give that great example from the 7 habits of highly effective people, that in life, if you're trying to cut a tree and the sharp is very dull, and somebody tells you, you know what? Why don't you take 10 minutes and sharpen the knife so you can cut it really quick? What does he tell you? I don't have time. Huh? What do you mean you don't have time? Don't you understand? The life is dull. The knife is dull. That means if you sharpen it, things are going to go much easier. I don't have time. So when somebody tells you I don't have time to sharpen the knife, that's going to make things much easier, then obviously, how can you help that person? The problem is he doesn't recognize that it's taking him 10 times the time to do something where if you just prayed for it, it would cut right away. So when you're doing that, of course you're exhausted because you're cutting the tree over and over and over, but you need to sharpen the knife. That's what we need to do in life. We need to sharpen the knives in life. You need to sharpen your relationships. You need to sharpen your business. You need to sharpen your spirituality. You need to sharpen everything across the board. Once you don't sharpen your knives in life, things are going to get old, things are going to get repetitive, and things are going to be exhausted. If a person's not constantly sharpening his relationship or sharpening everything, what happens? Things start getting redundant. You start getting into ruts. So sharpening the knife is a very spiritual thing. That means, how am I approaching my life differently today? How am I looking at my business differently? Once you start seeing that, you look at opportunities. If you looked at your dating game as, wow, today's a brand new day, I can find 1,000 shidduchim. There's no shidduchim, I'm burnt out, nothing changes, it's the same scene. Sharpen the knife. That's what you're focusing on, that's what you're seeing. So that's another thing about his Bodhidut, is to understand that God renews the day every single day. And already, if you have a negative emotion going into the day, you already have no faith because you don't believe that God recreated the world. So already you're out of the game. What's today's date? 2018. You're behind already. So it's very important. A fresh attitude will also dictate a fresh prayer. But an old attitude will dictate an old prayer. So the mindset also has to be fresh. It cannot be same thing over and over again. The beginning, of course, when you have nothing to say, should be saying, help me speak. Just like that. Help me speak. Rebbe Nachman even said in one of his Torahs, if a person repeats the same word over and over, please help me, that's very good also. Because it's showing the attempt to make it to develop a relationship. Rebbe Nachman says in lesson 250, again, these are all things before I get into the topic. Rebbe Nachman says, I'm trying to explain to you the issues, and I'm trying to explain to you what the issues that people are having, and I'm trying to tell you how to fix it. He says in lesson 250 that the main suffering Israel experiences in this exile is because they have fallen their dot and attributed everything to nature. Remember that concept. You attribute everything to nature. Nothing can change. This is the way nature is. This is the economy. If it's meant to grow 3%, you're going to grow 3%. Or if it's meant to be like this, it's like this. You basically lose any kind of hope. You've attributed everything to nature. And he says this happens to them because we live among the nations and we start learning from them. And we see that fate is smiling upon them. Look, that guy's doing that. He just got a new Bentley. Why shouldn't I do that? Why do I need to pray? While the Jewish people are very despised and lonely. What happens? You look over there. Look at the excitement. So much excitement. And this Torah stuff is low, boring, nothing to talk about. You understand the problem? So you start thinking, let me be like them all the time. Why do I need faith? This prayer, faith, Shabbat, Brit, who cares about this stuff? And what happens? Then, what happens when you have this mindset of the nations? It's a big problem. Then you're under the jurisdiction of the nations. That means, if you're meant to get hit with a hurricane, you're going to get hit with a hurricane. If you're meant, you don't get that divine supervision. You don't get that VIP supervision. What does your Mazal do for you in your life? Your Mazal protects you on your mission. Let's say you have a mission and you're supposed to go here and you're making a wrong turn. You know what God will do? He'll create a disaster to happen or create something to flip in your life so you go into your right mission. Your Mazal protects you. It's like your GPS. But what happens if you take off the batteries out of the GPS and say, I'm not interested in this whole spirituality thing, then the car is meant to get a flat tire, it's going to get a flat tire. You lose the VIP supervision. You want to be like the nations? Just like it says, if a person turns his back on Hashem, what happens? Then Hashem has to turn his back on him. And it's not like, go ahead, knock yourself out. Unfortunately, you have a child. Doesn't want to listen? What do you tell him? Go knock yourself out. If he falls, he falls. If he doesn't, no, he could always come back. But why a person should never fall and not lose his emunah and not lose his faith? Because then you're under the jurisdiction of the other nations and you don't get that extra supervision. I can believe if I have bitachon and I have emunah, I can change my reality. That's what prayer allows you. This is what he says here. Because they attributed their dot to everything, they experience no affliction whatsoever. That means they're just like everybody else. No difference. But prayer is the aspect of providence, the aspect of transcending nature. You can change nature. Nature dictates a certain thing, and prayer can change nature. If you spent the same time worrying that you spent doing his bodedut, you would move mountains. You would move mountains. Prayer can change nature. The person's right before let's say he has a struggle in his relationship at home. If he spends 3 minutes before, Hashem, I'm coming into my house. I know the odds are against me. I struck out 10 times already. I know I don't have a shot myself because my Yetzer Hara for anger is beyond imagination. And I get upset over every little thing. And I know I don't have a shot without you. If he gives that 3-minute prayer right before he gets home, what do you think happens? Things completely will change. Or let's say the guy's going to the DMV. You can imagine what the DMV could be like. No permit or getting a permit. Just the 2-3 minute prayer before you get a permit. The permit can go one way or can go the other way. They can tell you to come back 100 times. They can tell you, you know what, it's approved. It forces, what his bodedut will force you is to be mindful of every little thing that you're going through and rely on Him and be connected all the time in that. So a person doesn't get into the wrong lane. I was on the wrong highway before. Forget the wrong lane. Because what happens is when you lose your faith, you know what's the first thing you're going to start doing? Is you're going to start playing God. You're going to start saying, I don't understand how he's married. I don't understand why he's successful. I don't understand why that one's doing good and I'm not. This. So already what happens, the lack of faith, all of a sudden you're on the wrong highway. You should be going to Orlando, you end up going to Key West. Your mindset is already, now it's not enough that you lost your faith, but now what do? You play God. So you can imagine the downward spiral that leads to envy, jealousy, etc. So through prayer, it forces you to connect to Him at all times. The 3-4 minute prayer before you get into the permit. The 2-minute prayer before you get into the show. These little wins make a big difference. Instead of just doing something and relying on your own hands. Once you live like that, you live mindfulness, you live with a peace of mind. Because you know, when you go work, I put my effort. If it's meant to succeed, it's meant to succeed. If it's not, I'm not going to worry about it anymore. That means I'll go to work, I'll plant a seed, and I'll be very happy to walk away. I don't have to watch the seed. Is it going to grow? Is the rain going to come? When is it going to come? Why is the seed not growing? How come his seed is growing? How come that person's seed is growing? Plant the seed and walk away and do something else. When you live like that, you have all the time in the world. You look at life completely different. You have peace of mind. Otherwise, you get stuck watching a plant grow and trying to control something you can't control. So his Bodhidut allows you to understand that everything is dependent upon God. And nothing can happen. And if I can speak, I can transform nature. And it's not the length of the prayer, it's the faith behind it. I could pray all day long, ba 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 ba, but I don't believe in it. It's not the length, it's the faith behind it. How much do you believe in your prayer? That itself is a very important thing. Because a person can pray, he could do lip syncing, but he doesn't believe in it. So what happens? What's a sign of arrogance? That the person stops praying. He stops praying. That's a sign of arrogance, because what is he saying? I tried, it didn't work. You must be broken. What do you say? You must be. Something's wrong with the system, nothing's wrong with me. So when you quit in tefillah, your soul starts getting worried, starts getting tired. You have no way to cope with things in life. You start worrying about things in life. You get stressed out. You check out. And it leads to a perpetual cycle that leads to a disaster. And that's where it's called today a bad mood. It's called mochim katnut. That you look at the world like you're getting the short end of the stick. Because that's the way you're looking at the world. It's your perception of life. It's your perception of reality. So his Bodhidut forces us to change our perception. Change your reality. Change the way you look at things. Imagine, I heard a great story about the father of Ilana. And the guy, when he says he went to the doctor told him, the medicine's going to cost you $2.2 million. What would another person think? He says, my father is very rich. I can handle it. That's what he said. My father in heaven is very rich. There's no limitation. Can you imagine a guy is a bacher, the guy's learning, and to say my father is very rich, is he thinking small or is he thinking big? He's thinking big. There's no limit. And unfortunately, when we think small, we get small. Because you don't recognize how Hashem can take care of every single problem. Otherwise, if not, why would I worry about something I can't control? So let's talk about what should happen in his Bodhidut. So we already know the benefits of his Bodhidut. The first part of his Bodhidut is really 3 parts. The first part should be gratitude. First part of his Bodhidut, let's say a person's going to do 15 minutes. The first 5 minutes should be a form of gratitude. Thank you for this. But we don't want to say thank you with like pittiness. First, get to a state where you feel gratitude. Sometimes I have to put on music in the beginning. I have to get into a good state. Because you don't want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, when you don't mean it. Again, we're going back to the same thing. Not lip service. Get to a point where you mean it. Oh my God, I feel gratitude. I feel abundant in my life. If you're having a hard time feeling gratitude, then we need to do his bodhidut on perception. And why am I not feeling gratitude? Why am I not? Maybe I'm not judging myself positively. Maybe I'm focusing on what's wrong with my life. So a zamra, if a person's having a hard time doing his bodhidut, the first thing he should do is do a zamra. A zamra means to focus on the good points in your life. Because if you don't sing with what you have, you're going to cry with what you don't have. So a zamra is a good thing to warm up by showing gratitude for what you have. The second part is very important. The second part of this bodhidut is the most important part, which is called mishpat, which is called judging yourself. Judging yourself. Nachman says in lesson 154 that any time that a person does not fear God and he fears something else but God, it becomes a fallen fear. Remember that thing. When a guy has a let's say he has an addiction with something, he has what is it called? A fallen love. He has a fallen love with an addiction. That's not real love. It's not good love. The same thing. When somebody has fear over something that's not Hashem, that thing becomes a fallen fear. Let's say I fear an attorney. Let's say I fear that somebody's going to take my house away. Let's say I fear my competitor. What happens when you fear something that's not God? All of a sudden, you give that thing that you fear power. Very important concept to understand. Whatever you fear, you give power. No, there are fallen fears. All afflictions stem, and these judgments a person experiences are from fallen fears. When a person has a fear, he gets after. What does he have after? He gets anxiety. What happens? He took that fear and didn't elevate it, and didn't say there's only Hashem. There's nothing else exists. But when you start getting fears and you start worrying about that fear, then what happens? That thing can actually have an effect on the person. Whatever, as the pasuk says, whatever a person feared will come upon him. You create. When a person fears something, he can create that reality. And this is what he's saying here. That there are 5 animals that are afraid of the stupidest things. There's an animal, there's an elephant, the Gemara talks about that there's an elephant that's afraid of a little gnat. There's a lion that's afraid of a mosquito. The most ridiculous elephant afraid of little things. Imagine an elephant going to his therapist and saying, listen, I have a problem. I'm fearing this little mosquito. What would the guy say? How could you're a lion, you're a tiger. How could you be afraid? But the Gemara is talking and telling us that there are things that when a person can create something, because he doesn't elevate that fear to its place, that thing will come and actually can get justice on the person. Very scary concept. Because what happens is, if I fear something's going to happen, it can actually happen. Because now I gave that fear to something else. I had this problem 7-8 years ago. I feared attorney's bills. And the attorney's bills came from 100 to 700 grand. I made it worse. If I would have accepted the 100 grand and said, Todah Hashem. But no, I feared. How much more? How much more? Anxiety, panic. All of a sudden, I was attributing to this guy's retainer. Because what you do can actually, is what he says. There are fallen fears that they become enclosed in these fears. So if a person doesn't take fear to its root, it becomes a fallen fear. It's a big problem. So what do? When a person, the second part of his bodhidut is doing mishpat, is to elevate all fallen fears to the place, and also to admit any kind of things that person did. Let's say a person is not nice to his wife. So how would Hashem normally deal with that person? He would come home, he would give his wife something, what would she say? I don't want it. The reminder would be from the wife. Do you understand? Because now, if he woke up that morning and says, Hashem, I have a hard time being nice to my wife. I have a very hard time doing this. I'm trying to read. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed out. He checks in and says, I have a problem. I'm not admitting the problem. I know I have a problem. He doesn't need to get reminded by his wife what a horrible husband he is. But if he doesn't do it, and he thinks I'm the greatest husband, he comes home, she'll remind him of who he really is. Do you understand? The same thing with work. Shem, I'm anxious. I have an anxiety problem. I can't focus at work. I don't have a trust. I can't even focus on trusting you. I have a problem. When you say I have a problem, that's called teshuvah. What are you doing? You're admitting to the problem. Once you're admitting to the problem, you're creating judgment here. Then there's no need for judgment above. Basically, if I can settle in state court, I don't have to go to federal court. State court is taking our issues in our lives and negotiating in state court. Why would you want to go to federal court? You know, the federal court, different judges. So we have a chance. We make a mistake. Right away, when a person makes a mistake, he should automatically go and say, I made a mistake. That means punishment, Rabbi Rush says, punishment was only created in the world in an absence of teshuvah. Unbelievable. All I have to do is judge myself and I don't get judged above. It's called double jeopardy. There's no double jeopardy. The judgment gets canceled. You make a mistake, you do something wrong. I made a mistake, I looked at the wrong place, I wasn't honest in business. Help me. Upstairs, I don't need to remind you and get your attention. Now, if you don't want to, I can't think of anything greater than that. Because basically, you can mitigate judgment in your own life. You don't have to wait for wake-up calls. Does anybody love wake-up calls? You need a wake-up call? No, the wake-up call is not, God forbid, din. We need to understand something. It's not judgment from Hashem. It's He has to get your attention. First He knocks on the door. You don't answer. Then He knocks it harder. You don't answer. Then He's got to knock the door in. And then you say, why'd you knock on the door in my life? But He knocked on the door first. So we have to understand we're going to make mistakes. We're going to be rude to people. We're going to say the wrong things. We're going to be insensitive. We're going to not be honest sometimes. Things are going to happen in your life, no matter who you are. But you're not supposed to be a perfectionist. You're supposed to go and say, I made a mistake. Old-fashioned teshuvah. Please accept my apology. Because you know what? When you go to sleep, what happens? They settle the debts in heaven. This person insulted this one. Okay, there's a judgment on him. Take that. This. So at night, what do you want to do? You want to clear the debt. I don't want debt. I want to judge myself. I don't want to accumulate debt. Doesn't this sound more effective than just sitting down and meditating to I mean, is this what people want in this world, or you want really results? Results is open up your mouth and say, Hashem, I made a mistake. I'm taking accountability. I made a mistake. I'm not sensitive. I need to work on myself. I'm not careful with this. I need to work on myself. That way, you're admitting to the issue, and that's why the Breslevers are always doing vidui. They're always doing, all the Breslevers always saying, Hashem, please forgive me for this, I'm sorry. Yom Kippur every day for Rebbe Nachman's students is an everyday thing. It's not once a year. Oh, by the way, I wronged you 6 months ago. No, it's daily. Because we know we don't want to accumulate debt. We don't want to accumulate problems. What do you think the number one problem in relationships today is? Resentment. Resentment. What is resentment? Frozen anger. Frozen anger. Frozen, and one day it comes out, I'm done. God forbid. What do you think? Resentment doesn't exist? You know how bad resentment is today? You're holding a grudge. So when you say I'm sorry, I said I'm sorry. What am I going to do? Am I perfect? The Gemara clearly says that a person does not have a shot. If it wasn't from Hashem helping him, he has no shot against the Yetzer Hara. He has no shot. He'll lose every time. So you should never say, I have it in the bag. You should say, I prayed for it, so I received. Rabbi Arush says, anything you receive without prayer, it could be detrimental for you. But if you pray for it and you get it, it will stay with you. So it forces us, and why, now you can tell me, if God knows what I'm thinking about, why do I need to talk? Rebbe Nachman says in lesson 34, that you actually have to speak, and that creates vessels, and that vessels will create the light to come in. So the amount of effort that a person puts in, it could be imagine the effort I put in those 6 months of his Bodedut. I ended up opening up rehab centers and classes all over the world. That was the effort, those 6 months. If I would have waited 5 months and 28 days, nothing. That was the price I had to pay. So depending, we have to understand something, depending upon the light that we have, is the amount of vessel. So if a person's not married today, and he's struggling, he should speak to Hashem 20 minutes a day, and ask him to make a better vessel. He should say, don't focus on looking for the one, focusing on becoming the one. There's not a lack of soulmates. We got to attract them. It's an attraction thing. There's not a lack of blessing. It's a vessel thing. It's not a lack of it. Once he starts, after the second step is once you do the mishpat, once you confess, once you tell Hashem what you need help on, then you can start requesting. Because you don't want to just say, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this. Then what happens? You sound like a dog. Have, like the Zohar says. First you have to build a relationship. First you should have to say thank you for everything. Appreciate. If a person has a hard time being grateful, what should he do? He should remind Hashem of all the times he got saved. You saved me in this time. You saved me in that time. Just like you saved me in that time, you're going to save me again. Believing in the salvation. So he should start talking about the past that we got saved. And that will start building some kind of flow. That's the first step, is the gratitude. Building the flow, building the connection. I do it with music. I do it when I'm in a good state. Because remember, your Creator's with you when you're in a good state. When you're in a good state, you have music, words start pouring out. When you're constricted, then you have nothing to say. Our job in life is to take the speech, which is called Metzar Garon. Mitzrayim. What does Metzar Garon mean? The speech is stuck in the back of the neck. Mitzrayim, to what? Pesach. Open your mouth. The hardest thing is to go from Mitzrayim, which is the back of the neck, it's the speech is constricted, to Pesach. Mitzrayim represents our problems, represents our state of mind, represents the way we're looking at it. And what do we use? We need to go to Pesach. We need to be liberated from slavery. Slavery to our emotions. Then we need to take the speech and say, Pesach, open up your mouth. Your mouth is not created for excuses. It's created to create vessels. And once you realize, you have a whole different system. Now, like I said, very important, we don't judge it. Very important, we just do it. It's better to have more consistency than intensity. It's very important in us to do it first thing in the morning. I know if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I know. If I don't wake up 15, 20, 30 minutes before, it's not happening. So the person also needs to understand the system. People say, well, I need to sleep. Sleep faster. Something you have to give up in life. All of my classes, they don't talk about just listening to the parsha of the week. You have to, all of the classes are challenging the person. Okay, you want something you never had before? What are you doing differently? So I asked, okay, show me your schedule. What are you doing? This. The schedule has no room for success. You need to change something you do daily in order to have a better life. And that's what his Bodhidut does. And after his Bodhidut, how do you know you feel good? You should feel completely elevated. You should feel completely, everything's off your chest. You go with a clear head, and that's how you attack your days. Believe it or not, I think today, there's over 800 classes that I've given, and I'm very busy. I am busy. And I'm telling you right now, all of the ideas, every single class, is what should I talk about today? All of a sudden I get the idea to do this, and there's your class. I'm not sitting there learning for 7 hours a day. I have 5 kids, I have a business to run, I have work to do. But I know this is something where everything is where all the prophecy is there. I have a decision I need to make. I speak about Hashem. I need a decision to make. Help me. Should I do this? Should I do that? Lead me to the right decision. And then I earned that vessel. I don't just go out there and say, pick one, this one, this one, this one. No. The prayer creates the clarity, like he says here. Somebody who has a pure heart will know the future. Who doesn't want to know the future? Who doesn't want to know what to do? It's in your heart. All you have to do is open your heart. Well, I'm not used to it. I'm going to get used to it. like we said many times, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable. There's nothing comfortable. But once you get to this experience, you will have a flow and it will change your life. Any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Is this for the dude you're supposed to do it, I thought at night? No?
You could do it at night or you could do it first thing in the morning. Whatever works for you, that you know you can do it, consistent.
And when you do it, are you supposed to say it silently?
No, speak. You have to open up your mouth. Very important.
Okay.
You have to do it in a place that's obviously that's quiet, and you have to. The whole point is the more you it's good to do it in one spot, in one area, because the more you're connected to that area, the more you purify that area, the easier it is for you to do it.
So do it the
Same spot, same location, and you'll start building momentum. I use focus music. I use focus music.
while you're doing this?
Yes. I get into a good state, and then I basically start speaking. And then again, sometimes the first 10 minutes, nothing. But then all of a sudden, you'll have that burst of things.
And how long should you do it?
Again, you should start, you have to build it up. I do today, I think I'm able to almost do an hour a day. I started 10 minutes. An hour a day? How could you do an hour a day? I'll shoot myself if I'm in an hour a day by myself. That's a problem. If you don't want to be with yourself for an hour, you got a problem. There's a lot to talk about in life. 5 kids, detox business, rehab business, a wife. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. Imagine people have nothing to talk about. There's always something to talk about, I promise you.
And then you just...
And I follow the step. First is gratitude.
Yes.
Then is mishpat. Mishpat is judging yourself,
Yes.
apologizing for whatever you did wrong. Remember, that's the state court versus federal court concept. You want to make sure people get hit hard in life when they don't check. The person doesn't get bit by an elephant. He gets bit by a mosquito. Those little mosquitoes accumulate. You get me? So work on the little mosquitoes so they don't blow up in your face in life. And that's what you check in. How was I with my wife today? How was with my mother-in-law today? How was with my coworkers today? Was I insensitive to somebody? Help me work on myself. That's teshuva. That is teshuva, to constantly reflect on how you are acting every single day. It's not just to sit there and say, I mean, you could do that to settle your mind. Maybe you could do that for 10 minutes, but the real result works with speech. I know Buddha isn't so cool now. It's much cooler than this stuff. But people it's not a trend. You have to use your heart.
And then you end up
and then you can do your thing, right? But the main thing is you have you have to understand something. A person has an issue in his life. Let's say he has an issue at 5 o'clock. Normally, what would he do? He would worry about it. He would get stressed. He would, zone out. He could say, "No, I have that issue at 5 o'clock. I'm going to make an appointment at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll speak to my Creator about that problem." That's how he handles it. You make an appointment, and that's it. You let go. That's the key. You're relying on prayer to change the way you look at something instead of relying on attacking the issue. Yes?
How about on Shabbat? Is there a modified version?
Yeah, Shabbat also modified. Shabbat you can't pray for anything physical. So you would do spiritual. And again, his bodhidu could be, Hashem, I only speak to you for 5 minutes. I want to speak to you for 10 minutes a day now. I want to go from 5 minutes to 10. It's to develop a desire, a yearning, which is the biggest light in creation, is to develop hunger, to desire to want more in life, to want a better relationship. That itself is good. So when you sit there and you can't speak, you're desiring it. That you'll get what you want. So don't focus so much on if things are going right away. In the beginning, they're going to ask you, how bad do you want it? So when you get stuck in life, it's not to say I'm not doing it right, something must be wrong with me. No, he should say I really want it more. Like somebody gets hit with an obstacle, it forces him to do what? To have more desire. So when you're stuck, what should you use? Desire. Desire, desire, desire. And that's what God wants. He wants a person hungry. He wants a person excited. He wants a person to serve him with his heart. He's not interested in these traditions with a book and sitting there with no heart and everything's the same. That's not going to last. Unfortunately, it's not lasting today. People drop out of that really quick. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes.
You keep on saying, like, to do it with your heart.
Yes.
Is there a difference between doing it with your love or with your heart? Is that two different definitions? Is it
Right.
the same thing?
I'm recognizing that life is very difficult, and I'm going to have a broken heart. Things are going to break in my life, and I'm going to have difficulties in my life. So I can do two things. I can get depressed over that, or I can approach Hashem with a broken heart and saying, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. So you're doing it with love, but you have to recognize you have a broken heart. You have to recognize where you are. You can't pretend you're not where you are. You have to understand, listen, I'm struggling right now financially. I'm just giving an example. I'm struggling in my marriage, or I'm struggling with my son who's got an addiction problem. You can't just say, oh, I love you, Hashem, for doing this. No, I'm broken. My son, I don't know where he is. What's going to be with him?
There's a difference between love and with your heart.
It's all from love, but you have to come with him with intensity, like a sense of urgency. You have to, it has to create a sense of urgency that you really want the situation to help you.
Sincere.
It's as sincere. Bottom line, as it says, God is close to all those who call upon Him with truth. Truth. It's the whole point is you're sincere of where you are at that moment and what you're going through. Like I said, it's always going to be either you're in a problem, you're about to go into one, or you just got out of one. It's never ending what you have to connect. But it allows you to enjoy the rest of your life, and allows you also to become number one thing is you stop worrying about every little thing in life, which that itself is an amazing thing, because Rebbe Nachman says, do his bodhidut for 1 hour, and then the 23 hours, enjoy your day. You can be happy the rest of the day, because you know you did what you had to do. But everything else, like again, worry, anxiety, grief, this is all things that take all your energy and do nothing for you. And do absolutely nothing for you. Any other questions?
You
Yes.
said at the beginning you do gratitude, and then the next step, how many steps are there?
There's 3 steps, but
So gratitude?
gratitude,
And then-
mishpat is the judgment on yourself,
Okay.
and then praying.
Okay.
It's very much like exercise. Sometimes you just got to get on this treadmill and just run, and you're gonna get going. We don't also want to be in the box. Judaism's too much already in the box already. Got to get out of the box. This is an out of the box experience.
But if you do it every
It's a
day,
relationship.
and it's-
The more you do it, the easier it will be for you to do it, because you'll be used to it.
365 days.
For you, 367. Moroccans, an extra 10 days.
Teshuva means to like.
Teshuvah means to be accountable for what you do in life. I made a mistake.
Bread and you don't do it again?
No, just say, there's going to be things in life that even if you're going to try not to do it, it could take you 5-6 months to break a habit. It's not easy to break a habit, but you're at least attempting and asking your Creator to break that habit.
So teshuva means.
Teshuvah means to go back to yourself, your true self,
Okay.
to return to yourself.
Oh, I know.
Right. So whatever thing in our life, it could be a person could be waking up late. So he can still wake up, but at least he's developing a desire for waking up early and to become better. That is just, and again, it's just like a son telling you,